We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do us well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. If you want to support this college football's rebel outpost, the home for the true college football sickos, with a donation to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. When you hit that dollar sign, where you make a comment, hit that dollar sign, and we'll get to your super chat as quick as we possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. Breaking news, breaking news. Pete Thamel, ESPN. Sources: Virginia Tech and James Franklin are finalizing an agreement for him to become the school's next head coach. Franklin has won 128 games over 15 seasons as the head coach at Vanderbilt and Penn State. He led Penn State to the college football playoffs semifinals last year. Holy smokes. Virginia Tech has gotten their man. And the Hokie Nation, they are excited. They have been dreaming. They have been hoping. They have been praying. And they got it done. James Franklin, the new head coach of the Virginia Tech Hokies. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. That is big breaking news. Big breaking news. Well, that's gonna uplift Hokie Nation. That is gonna do a lot of things at Virginia Tech. Remember, they went through all that, the Whit Babcock and everything. You know, they've got this supposed agreement and commitment from donors and boosters and outside money that they're going to be coming in and they're going to be boosting up Virginia Tech's ability to compete at the highest levels in the ACC. And James Franklin must be a believer. Virginia Tech probably going to be doling out a lot of money to get Franklin and to have a coaching staff around Franklin. Big breaking news for Virginia Tech. We'll get into this more later in the live show. This just broke before we came on live. We'll talk about that more later on in the program. Unfortunately.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way.
The fourth,
you're trying to stay strong,
or is it the fifth week in a row, Greg the Cooler has taken control of the studio.
As you fade away, as you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Gotta build up of my thoughts.
Okay, enough of that. We're gonna go through these games real quick. Again, I apologize. We did not do a Sunday aftermath show. We didn't even do a Saturday watch party. I was ill on Thursday. We made it through the Thursday show. We did a watch party Friday night, but I could not get off the mat this weekend. So I do apologize for that. But this is going to be our aftermath show, breaking news show, UC investment show. Michigan is threatening to leave the Big Ten. They're going to be looking at the independent option, and they might be looking at a few options in a few years from now, according to Jordan Acker, the Board of Regents member of the University of Michigan. UC Investment has just put out a letter. They just put out a letter. We're going to be going through that. And we're going to be going through things that I have poked and prodded through the weekend. As we have reported, this is not gaslighting. This is not grifting. There is a fracture in the Big Ten. And there is. There is a fracture in the Big Ten. And you better believe that there is. If you don't believe there's a fracture in the Big Ten, I don't know what else. I don't know. I don't know what Kool-Aid you're drinking. I don't know what you're drinking. I don't know what you're smoking. There is a fracture in the Big Ten. And I say this, with all due respect to everybody, to Michigan, to USC, to anybody. I've said this on this show for 4 years. Michigan has every obligation to look out for themselves. Nothing has changed. Michigan has every obligation to look out for themselves. If they believe there's a better future out there than the current or potential future of the Big Ten, they should keep those doors wide open. And if they want to have that wide open door on 2036, or they want to work earlier to get that door open, by all means, walk through that door. Just like USC did it, just like Texas, just like Oklahoma. There's schools all over the country that have prospered and suffered through realignment. Michigan has every right, every single right, to do what they're doing. Now, having said that, when you're doing it in the way that Jordan Acker is doing it, there are going to be costs to that. There just is. Jordan Acker, who reposted the Matt Hayes' Big Ten annual hatchet job. Jordan Acker has gone on, he has, even if you agree with his position, he has gone about this in I'm just going to say it, in a moronic way. Now, he's a lot of people's heroes out there, and he's loving every minute of it, and he's going to run for office. Congratulations to him. But the way he's gone on about it, what he said with Nicole Auerbach, we're going to go through that. Holy smokes. Now, it's fine for you and I to say that Michigan might be looking at independence or other options in a couple years from now. It's okay for Stephen McNeely and Anthony Mazzio and Bob Swanger and Expedition Greg and Still Austin, D5 Terps, Grateful Trojan. It's okay for us to say it, to speculate on it, even to report it if I have the goods. But for the guy who stood up there and said, we just got to find a better deal. I think we can find a better deal. And of course, he doesn't have a better deal. He ain't looking to have, he never had one. He ain't looking for one. For him to come out and say what he said today and repost Matt Hayes' hatchet job, Jordan Acker, who's going to be the Board of Regents member until at least 2027, maybe not a day after that. Wow. There's going to be a cost. And one of the costs to this, and it's already happened, Michigan has been the most influential university in the Big Ten. If you combined everything. Academics, research, athletics, the expansion of the Big Ten Conference. They did not get their way in getting Pittsburgh in, but after that, they've gotten their way on every selection. Michigan has had the most influence. We've talked about it for 4 years. I have reported you on the Michigan faction. It no longer exists. It's gone. We reported that last week or the week before. It is gone. Michigan's influence in the Big Ten is nothing. They have great value. Of course they do. They are the top or the second biggest brand in the Big Ten. No question about it. But their influence inside the conference is now gone. That's going to be a cost. Michigan is going to have to go for how many more years? And look, we've got a lot to cover today, and we're going to cover it. Michigan has every right to do what they're doing, every obligation to their own self-interest. This UC investment deal that now looks to be on pause, we're going to go through that. Jordan Acker, let me get to it right now. We'll circle back to it. We're going to circle back to it. Michigan Region, Jordan Acker, College Sports Today. The possibility of independence for football is certainly something that has to be considered. Not today, but at the end of the grant of rights. So you're talking about looking at independence at the end of the grant of rights in 2036. You're talking about that today on November 17th, 2025. Which is, you should not be saying that in public. You should not be saying that in public. Sorry. You should not be saying that in public. And then he goes on to say the following. In the second paragraph, Jordan Acker. No, I'm sorry, in the first, I'll just read you the whole thing. Michigan has a lot of options. The possibility of independence for football is certainly something that has to be considered. Not today, but at the end of the grant of rights. So he's going to wave this over the conference, for the next 10 years. I think it's something you have to think about. Not because we want to leave the Big Ten Conference, because the commissioner's office has made it enormously clear they're going to move forward with the proposed capital deal without us. And that would be the end of Michigan, as far as I can see in the Big Ten. I'm going to talk about this top paragraph first, and then we'll get to the bottom paragraph later in the monologue. But let me just say something here. This is Jordan Acker, who's going to be a Board of Regents member until 2027. I think it's something you have to think about. Not because we want to lead the Big Ten Conference, because the commissioner's office, again, Jordan Acker and his fellow college football reporters are trying to set Tony Petitti up as the boogeyman. He ain't going to mention that the other 16 presidents who have looked at this for months, who have had their bankers look at it for months, their legal departments look at it for months, they are for the deal, but he's got to put it in the Tony Petitti bread box, right? He's got to single out Tony Petitti. I think it's something you have to think about. Not because we want to leave the Big Ten Conference, because the commissioner's office has made it enormously clear that they're going to move forward with the proposed capital deal without us. And that would be the end of Michigan as far as I can see in the Big Ten Conference. Okay. Thank you for your super chats. I'll get to them real quick here. So if the deal goes through, according to Jordan Acker, if it goes through with 16 teams, 16 schools, that's it for Michigan in the Big Ten. And my question is why? 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 Somebody in the chat room tell me why. Why would that be the end of Michigan in the Big Ten? If you do not want to sign on the deal, you don't sign on the deal. You don't become a member of the Big Ten enterprises. You don't get the cash infusion But you get what's coming to you. And you get what's coming to you during the next round of media negotiations, which is a lot of money, more money than you would make anywhere else. Plus, you can't get out. Why is it necessary that that would be the end of it for Michigan in the Big Ten? If it's such a bad deal, wouldn't Michigan sit there and go, ha, 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 ha? The other schools are going to be dragged down by the 10% stake of UC investment, and we're not going to get dragged down by it. No, we can sell our jersey patch alone. We can do everything alone. We're not going to be part of it. We're not going to be part of the Big Ten enterprises when it goes down. We're not part of the 10% drag on our revenues. Now, we don't get the unequal revenue sharing. We don't get percentage stake, but we think it's a bad deal. So why would it bother Michigan? Why would it bother Michigan to the point where Jordan Acker says, well, we can't be part of the Big Ten if this goes through? Why? If it's a bad deal, it's not going to affect you. You're still going to make out more money than 95% of the programs out there. Your Big Ten payout is still going to be massive. Not as big as Ohio State. Oh, is that what's bothering you? Not as big as Penn State. Oh, is that what is bothering you? Is that what's going on here? Is this a Michigan, Ohio State bleep measuring contest? Are you afraid, Jordan Acker, that this is actually going to work? Is that why if they all do this without me, that's the end of the Michigan and the Big Ten Conference? Are you that afraid that this might work? Again, Michigan has every right to do what they feel is best for themselves, just like everybody else out there. And if Michigan doesn't want to sign on the dotted line, they're definitely not going to be forced to. But man, does Jordan Acker have an axe to grind against the Big Ten? Any Big Ten official who reposted Matt Hayes' Big Ten hatchet job on the Big Ten has an axe to grind with the Big Ten. It goes well beyond this UC investment deal. So therefore, at the beginning of this monologue, I'm just putting it out there. There's a fracture in the Big Ten. It's not going away. And Jordan Acker seems to have the University of Michigan, in the palm of his hands as his political career takes off. I just hope, for the University of Michigan's sake, that Jordan Acker is truly correct and truly has your best interests at heart. Okay, let me get to the super chats. We have got a massive show today. Massive. We might have to be on for a long time today. We've got a lot of catching up to do. There's a lot of work to do. And we've got Ross Dellinger's reporting on this. We've got UC Investment Letter on this. We've got Jordan Acker. We haven't gone through everything he said. I haven't even begun to tell you what I've been told this weekend. There is a massive fracture in the Big Ten. There is a true belief that this deal is an absolute no-brainer. Like, of course we have to do this. These schools and university have talked to their own banks, their own experts, their own people, and they said, of course we take this. There is a massive, massive gap between Michigan, USC, and the other 16 schools. We've got a super chat, Caleb Ramirez. Maybe the Capitol put it on pause, not the Big Ten. UC Investment is basically pausing this. We're going to go through the letter later in the program. But basically, what they said is we would like to have all 18 schools on board. It sounds like they're willing to do 16, but they want 18. They want to give more time to the other two schools. But he also said in that UC Investment letter that Tony Petitti has done, and I'm paraphrasing, a great job in this deal. Like, we'll go through the letter, but he praises Tony Petitti. UC Investment says it's been thorough. It's been a great job by Tony Petitti. And he also said there's been disinformation out there about the process. And there has been. By those who want to shoot down anything that the Big Ten ever does or thinks about. There's a lot of forces at play. A lot of people are playing this passive aggressive BS game. A lot of people are playing the cloak and dagger game. So, anyways, thank you, Caleb Ramirez. I appreciate it so very much. Christopher Hooter, super chat. Lane Kiffin's family in Baton Rouge on the tour. Provide me a link in a DM or something like that, Christopher Hooter. I would love to read that. I do not believe Lane Kiffin is going to do anything but have his agent talk with LSU in Florida. Beyond that, I don't think he's going to do anything else with this. He's got Ole Miss in the playoffs. He's got Ole Miss with an actual running game to help them get in the playoffs. I think they're gonna be very careful on this. I don't think their family is doing a tour, to be honest. But let me know if there's a news link or something for me to read. Thank you, Christopher Hooter. I appreciate it very, very much. Kenneth Maynor has got to be a very happy pirate. Super chat, Kenneth Maynor. He's got to be a very happy pirate. ECU beats Memphis to get to 7-3, 5-1 in the American. Got 4 votes in the AP poll. Blast the cannons, hoist the colors. The Pirates are tied for first. Congratulations, Mr. Maynor. Big win over Memphis. I think a 4-point victory. ECU Pirates are still in the hunt, and still in the hunt for the American Conference Championship, and still in the hunt for getting a college football playoff berth. We are going to be talking more about all that late Tuesday, tomorrow, on this week. Thank you, Kenneth Maynor. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your $5 holla. I very much appreciate it. Thank you so very kind. CAC. CAC, $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Jordan Acker has an issue with Tony Petitti, in my opinion. I think he's got, how do I put this? It's easier for Jordan Acker to go after the commissioner. It's easy for him to do that. He can't go after the other 16 university presidents. President Ono was the chairperson of this whole effort. He was the president of Michigan. Jordan Acker has an issue with the Big Ten. Much like, look, there are Board of Regents people out there that rather see college athletics go away. I'm not saying that Jordan Acker is one of those people. He probably isn't. But there are some radicals on these Board of Regents. I'll just put it that way. Thank you, C. I appreciate the super chat. CAC, thank you very much. Bill G with a gifted membership again. We were going to release a cloak and dagger episode for members only Sunday night or this morning, but because I've been ill, I have not been able to produce the episode yet. We're going to get to it tomorrow. Okay, we're going to get to it tomorrow. I have just recovered. Thank you, Bill G. Richard L. Nathan Jones, friends call me Sean, Troy V. and DePaul were all gifted a membership by the generosity of Bill G. When you get an opportunity, please say thank you to Bill G. for gifting you all a membership. All of you are knighted officially. Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger. Thank you, Bill G. Appreciate it so very much. We've got Stephen McNeely, 5 gifted memberships. Holy smokes. Hidden Hawaiian, Dustin Flanor, DB Cougar, the Mad Hatter 77, and Anthony Mazzano, all gifted a membership by the incredible generosity of Stephen McNeely. When you get a chance, please say thank you to Stephen for his kindness and generosity. All of you are knighted, Cloak and Dagger. Thank you. Thank you, Stephen McNeely. Thank you, Bill G. I appreciate your guys' support. I always support. Thank you guys. Very humbled by all your support. Thank you very much. Kayla Ramirez just sent you something about Kiffin. I'll take a look at it. Well, that's not a tour. That's Kiffin's daughter dating the linebacker from LSU. A large number of professors at Michigan want Michigan to follow the University of Chicago. I don't think they want to do that, but I do know there are University of Minnesota board members that are that radical. If it was up to the University of Minnesota board members, Fleck would not be able to make more money than the governor per year. So that is why board members do not run the athletic departments, nor are they the president of the university. Okay. I think I'm caught up on the super chats. Very kind about that. Bill G, Stephen McNeely, Kib Ramirez, Preston from Greensboro, super chat. I'm afraid to become a legend. Thank you for the $5 holler. I appreciate it, Preston from Greensboro. Buck Wargo. We've got a super chat from Buck Wargo. $5 holler for Mr. Wargo. Hope you feel better. Is your illness Gopher Duck related? I don't think so, because I got sick on Thursday. I barely got through that Thursday live show. And the game wasn't until Friday. But maybe it was all my worrying about the game that caused me to get ill. That could be. So it could be related, but I don't think so. Thank you for the $5 holla. I appreciate it, Mr. Wargo. I thank you so very much. Kayla Ramirez, Buck, Steve McNeely, BG, thank you. Kenneth Maynor, Christopher Hooter, Preston from Greensboro. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you for starting us off today. Before we get to Ross Dellinger, Pete Thamel, Nicole Auerbach's reporting on the Big Ten fracture, and that's what this is. Before we get to the Michigan is threatening to leave. 10 years from now, 5 years from now, whatever, out in the open, Jordan Acker, before we get to all that, we got to talk about, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. Clemson, Louisville. I got it right. You guys got it wrong. I took Clemson. Minnesota, Oregon. We both took Minnesota, and we were both, dead wrong. Pittsburgh. That is who we took. We were both wrong. South Carolina, Texas A&M. We both took Texas A&M. We got that wrong. They got down 30-3, and they came back and beat the Gamecocks. I do not know how Shane Beamer survives this season. It's been rough, man. His whole setup on the offense, hiring Mike Shula, he just got rid of him last week, but Shane Beamer had something going at South Carolina, and I think he kicked it all away this year. Anyways, South Florida Navy, I got it wrong. You got it wrong. We both took South Florida. Navy won. Iowa USC, we both took USC. They did not cover. They only won by 5. North Carolina State Miami, I took North Carolina State. I got it wrong. You guys took Miami. Virginia Duke, we both took Virginia. We both got that one correct. Alabama, Oklahoma. We both took Alabama. We both got that wrong. East Carolina. We both took East Carolina. We got that correct. Georgia, Texas, the lock of the week. We both took Georgia. We got that correct. TCU, BYU. We both took BYU. We both got that correct. So I won 5-7. Another losing week. Another losing week for the mayor of Loserville City. And you guys went 4-8. I went 5-7. You all went 4-8. I am 71-73. You guys are 68-76. And we are not talking about last week's games. No more. No more. That was highly disappointing. Highly disappointing. Okay. All right. Let's get to it here. Christopher Hooter, I told you private, public, whatever you call a Big Ten equity deal was not worth the rift in the conference. You can't risk losing Michigan in 2036. Thank you for the super chat, Christopher Hooter. Well, when you got 16 schools wanting to do the deal and 2 of them not wanting to do the deal, I was of the belief that you should not do the deal. I said that 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, a month ago. But now if the deal is the value of the deal stays the same, you got to do the deal. If you got 16 schools willing to do the deal because they think it's the best for their future, do the deal. If you can't have Jordan Acker holding up the conference, if everybody is in belief of this deal, and we'll put USC aside for now, you can't have Jordan Acker holding up. You can't give him that power. I am sorry. You can't give him that power. And I don't think the Big Ten will. So, not only, look, Michigan can be against the deal. But when all these schools have worked on this for month after month after month after month. And they have distributed the information to the board members of Michigan and USC and everybody else. When they have worked on this, in Jordan Acker, I should call him Actor, when Jordan Acker comes out and basically gives a whole bunch of disinformation on how the Big Ten has conducted themselves, no, you do not give Jordan Acker this much power. If you give him that much power, then you're not even a conference. So no, I would not give Jordan Acker that type of power. Actor sounds about right. And Michigan is not joining the Southeastern Conference. And by the way, if Michigan goes to another conference, well, they can't join the conference that has this type of deal, right? Right? In the future, because they'll be against it, right? So, but look, they're threatening independence. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's first go through Ross Dellinger's reporting on this. Earlier this morning, on Friday, 23 board members representing 12 Big Ten universities held a call with officials from the American Council of Trustees and Alumni regarding the conference capital investment deal. Many of those joining opposed the capital deal or at the very least wanted it paused. 23 board members, that's not that many, to be honest. That's not a whole lot of board members on this call. If you total up all the board members of the 18 universities, not much. Board members from 6 Big Ten universities spoke on the call. They were from Michigan, Minnesota, USC, Penn State, and Maryland. They represented their own personal feelings. As I reported to you on, I believe, Friday or Thursday, I reported to you all live that the University of Minnesota president is definitely for this deal, and she has told the Board of Regents, you don't have the power to vote on this deal. You just don't, not within the Big Ten structure. President Cunningham of Minnesota is definitely for this. She was the one that led she was the one, you could Google it, you can do whatever you want with this information, but President Cunningham was the right-hand woman of President Ono when he was the president of Michigan. Cunningham's job was to increase the endowment and research of Michigan, and she did an incredible job, and she leaned on private equity. She's a believer in this deal. At the center, back to Dellinger, at the center, and I said at the time, it was probably Minnesota Board of Regents being one of them because, well, I went through it earlier. At the center of the Big Ten's $2.4 billion deal is a 10-year extension of the league's grant of rights to 2046. This is a notable week for the Big Ten's capital deal. The University of Michigan is holding a scheduled Board of Regents meeting where Global Banker is presenting an analysis of the Big Ten's deal with UC Investment. Michigan and USC are standing against the deal. The repercussions included a grace period when, if the other 16 Big Ten schools adopt the deal, Michigan and USC would be given an amount of time to opt in or risk a reduction in capital. The Big Ten outlined a staggered concept that ends with schools losing the ability to opt in. The staggered reduction concept shared with Michigan includes the school having 6 months to opt in to retain its full capital infusion, $190 million up front, and a $50 million bonus in 2037, 6 to 15 months to opt in to retain 2/3 of capital, 15 months to 2 years to retain 1/3 of capital. So if the 16 schools opt in, there's a 6-month grace period for Michigan or USC to get in the game. They get their full $190 million up front and probably full stake in Big Ten Enterprises. I will say this. When you are the 16 schools and you are the commissioner, you are President Carter of Ohio State, and you have written, you have approved, and you have sent forward a staggered reduction concept to Michigan and USC, to me that is a very strong indication that those 16 schools are definitely all in and going to sign this document if they get a chance to. When you're sending a staggered reduction concept, when you have written it up, when you have together as 16 schools gone through the numbers, and you've actually sent it forward to Michigan and USC, you are taking a strong stand to say, this is what we want to do. After 2 years, if Michigan has not opted into the deal, the school forfeits its capital infusion, the entire $240 million. And its grant of rights ends in 2036, 10 years shorter than those opting in. An email sent to USC administration, the Big Ten shared a similar plan. Regent Sarah Hubbard on the call said the board is asking of the Big Ten a fundamental question. Is it appropriate for an outside investor to be doing this with the Big Ten? For 6 months, for 8 months, the Big Ten has been talking with outside investors. And for all this time, the Michigan Board of Regents had the information in their hands. Everybody's talking with outside investors. Everybody is. So now you're even questioning, is it even appropriate? Again, this is all a big political game right now. If you're against the deal, then be against the deal. Honestly, at this point, if you truly believe this deal sucks for Michigan, don't be a part of it. Don't be a part of it. USC's Jeff Sumalan says the school needs more answers. No, you don't. No, you don't. You've gotten all the answers. You don't have a guarantee. You don't have a guarantee. That's what you don't have. Well, guess what, Jeff? Guess what, Sarah? You ain't going to get that guarantee. Because we really don't know, do we? We think we know. People who are for it believe this deal is a no-brainer. People are against it. There is no more waiting around. This has been going on for months. One interesting note from Penn State's Jay Paterno during the call, his understanding is that Big Ten athletes will be signing rev share contracts with the Big Ten Enterprises, which is really going to lock up those contracts. Another valuable piece of the Big Ten Enterprises, by the way. Right now, the league does distribute school revenue share payments to athletes from a central hub. The contracts will be with Big Ten Enterprises. Now for the investment letter. Hold on 1 minute here. This investment letter. Okay. This is from Jadeep Singh Bashir, the Chief Investment Officer. He sent this about 10-15 minutes before our live show came on. November 17th. UC Investment remains very excited about the opportunity to invest in a potential business of the Big Ten Conference to be known as the Big Ten Enterprises. Big Ten Enterprises is the key piece to all this. If you are a believer in it, you're gonna want to do it. If you're not a believer in it, then you're not gonna want to do it. The cash infusion is nice, but it is the Big Ten Enterprises that is the big part of this deal. Over the past 2 years, back to the letter, the conference has conducted a rigorous and highly professional process involving several world-class investors to bring this forward-looking vision to reality. This has been going on for a couple of years. This has not been a short process. It has been done with again, there has been so much disinformation on just the process itself. The Big Ten schools, the presidents, the leaders, they don't trust anybody outside the Big Ten because they have seen the disinformation rain down on them from college football reporters from A to Z across the country. That's why the Big Ten, like Ross Dellinger said, is pissed. A fiduciary for the University of California's nonprofit public pension UC Investment joined the process in July of 25. We are grateful that the Big Ten Conference Committee and its council of presidents and chancellors selected UC Investments to exclusively negotiate with them in helping to create the Big Ten Enterprises. Our proposed $2.4 billion investment for a 10-year % minority stake is fair and strongly aligned with the University of California's public mission and the shared goal of supporting the future of student athletes at UC and across the Big Ten universities. We became comfortable with the level of risk we would take on behalf of our pension stakeholders, offering to hold this investment for at least 15 years and planning to remain invested for at least 100 years, consistent with the UC Investments way in one of its core cultural principles, centennial investing. We have continued to evaluate this opportunity over the past 5 months. We remained convinced that the unity of the 18 Big Ten university members is the key to the success of the Big Ten Enterprises. We also recognize that some member universities need more time to assess the benefits of their participation. UC Investment likewise requires some additional time to complete our due diligence as recent developments unfold and we continue to engage with the conference. Throughout this process, the Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti and his team have demonstrated exceptional leadership. The process they have led has been rigorous, honest, and fair, among the best we've seen. Recent misinformation has distorted some aspects of its effort. Again, college football reporters, and I'm sorry, Jordan Acker, but you lied about the process. You lied. You have no gravitas within the Big Ten anymore. You're done. We continue to support Commissioner Petitti and his team as they guide this process forward with integrity and transparency. UC Investments will work closely with the Big Ten in the coming months to allow all of its members to evaluate the benefits of our potential investment in the Big Ten Enterprises. So, after this letter has come out, after this letter has come out, it is quite obvious there is not going to be a vote on November 21st. And there might even have to be a reevaluation that UC Investment has to make on this deal. So we shall see what happens. But again, now let's fully get into this. And let's get into the Nicole Auerbach, reporting of this. We went through part of it early in the monologue. Let's get through the whole thing. This is Jordan Acker talking to us, Nicole Auerbach. I'll start from the top again. Michigan has a lot of options. The possibility of independence for football is certainly something that has to be considered, not today, but at the end of the grant of rights in 2036. I think it's something you have to think about, not because we want to lead the Big Ten Conference, because the commissioner's office has made it enormously clear that they're going to move forward without us. And that would be the end of Michigan, as far as I can see in the Big Ten Conference. So if the other 16 schools do a deal, Michigan is done with the Big Ten. As the board chair said a few days ago, signing the grant of rights extension 21 years down the line is a pretty big thing to do when you don't know what college football is going to look like 4 or 5 years from now. So look, I think taking independence off the table would be silly. I think taking any other option that might come to us over the next few years off the table would be silly. This is Jordan Acker of Michigan. I think taking any other option that might come to us over the next few years off the table would be silly. And I think it would be, frankly, irresponsible for us fiduciaries to the University of Michigan to sign off on something that binds us when we don't know what the binding is going to look like. So Michigan, Jordan Acker. For the first time in a long time. Well, first time in a long time. It doesn't seem that Michigan is committed to the Big Ten long term. And they have always been committed to the Big Ten long term. They've had the most influence in the Big Ten. Not anymore. Those days are over. You can't talk like that. You can't talk like that. You can't talk like that and have influence in the Big Ten anymore. And that's why we reported a couple weeks ago, now there's a faction of one in the Big Ten. It's Ohio State. So, again, Michigan, they're under the board of, they're under the grant of rights to 2036. Might we see Michigan, when they announce the new president, take the Big Ten to court, just like Florida State and Clemson did? What is the future? What type of future does the Michigan think is going to be an option? Is Michigan thinking Super League? Does Michigan think there is a Super League ready for them in 2036? Is that what they think? Do they think the top of the Big Ten is going to join the top of the the SEC and a few ACC schools to join this elite Super League? Maybe. Maybe that's what the Michigan wants to keep open. Maybe. And they have every right to keep that option open. Just like USC had every right to do what they did to join the Big Ten. Just like every right that Texas and Oklahoma left the Big 12 and joined the SEC. They have every right to do it. But to talk like that, and you have 10 years left to go on the grant of rights, and saying that the other 16 schools, if they do what they like I've said over and over again, right? Michigan has the obligation, every right to look out for itself. But the other 16 schools have every right to look out for their best interests. And what Jordan Acker is saying is that if the other 16 schools actually sign the deal without them, there is no more future in the Big Ten for Michigan. So, that constitutes a threat. That constitutes a threat. Michigan is threatening the Big Ten. UC investment in this letter looks like they're willing to talk for a few more months on it. We'll see how the other Big Ten schools feel about it. Because the more time this goes, the more stalling, the less chance of this happening. And everybody knows that. That's why the people who are against the deal and the college football reporters and basically anybody outside the Big Ten, they don't want this to happen. And they're not doing it because of their great heart. They're doing it because they're afraid that this deal might actually work. They don't want the Big Ten schools to stay together until 2046. Everybody's hoping to stall this out, because eventually it's going to die. So does this UC investment letter, is that a victory for Michigan and USC? And one more thing I want to say before we get to your phone calls, and I got some very kind super chats I got to get to. One more thing I want to say. Regardless of what this does to the Big Ten, I've got another question. What does this do to Michigan and Ohio State's relationship? Because President Carter he wants this. Penn State wants this. They're looking at this deal as the Super League deal, with schools that they want to play against for the next 20 years. With a lot of money going to those schools. Remember, if this deal doesn't get done, there ain't going to be unequal revenue sharing. So if this deal doesn't go through, Michigan costs Ohio State a whole lot of money. If this deal doesn't go through, Michigan costs Penn State a whole lot of money. If this deal doesn't go through, USC and Michigan cost Oregon a whole lot of money. A whole lot of money. So you've got two layers here. One, the effects on the Big Ten Conference, but the relationship effect with Michigan and Ohio State. Because as I reported to you all last week, the week before, the Big Ten considers Jordan Acker a joke. He's a joke. He's not a serious player in this. So for those who are casting Jordan Acker as the hero, we shall see. We shall see. We are going to go through your super chats a little bit more here. I appreciate them so very much. I'm sorry about the delay. We're going to get to your phone calls. I know a lot of people got a lot of things to say. Donnie McNearly, I would like to say goodbye to the team up north and say Texas A&M, come join the best conference in the United States. Thank you for the super chat, Donnie McNerney. Thank you for the super chat, Donnie. I very much appreciate it. Thank you for your generosity, helping us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Texas A&M has no interest in joining the Big Ten. None. Texas A&M is loving. I know they're upset about the Texas A&M ain't joining the Big Ten. It's not happening. But it is fair to ask again. We talk about realignment, right? We talk about the next wave of disruption. And we've talked about the rules of realignment. Realignment never sleeps. Never sleeps. Number 2, realignment starts from the biggest dominoes. They have to fall first before the other dominoes fall. Number 3, one important, massive factor in realignment is relationships. Relationships, besides, relationships are so important in conference realignment. It is massive. In lieu of everything that is going on inside the Big Ten. In lieu of everything we go and talk about when we go inside the Holy Smokes Theater and we talk about it. And everybody's talking about, viewership numbers and blah, 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 blah. Relationships is in a category all by itself. If the Big Ten decides to expand here, with or without this deal, both, either way, they're going to expand with schools that they are convinced that this is the place they want to be, that they are in it for the long run. Remember the 100-year decision. None of this flakiness. And I say this with all due respect to USC. I know you're a top-tier program. I know your football program is incredibly valuable. Your brand is incredibly valuable. Your location is incredibly valuable. Your demographics, your fan base is incredibly valuable to the Big Ten. I know that. When I reported in the spring and summer of 2022 that USC was in talk with the Big Ten and USC was coming to the Big Ten, and I told the Los Angeles Times in that article, I said USC was so valuable that they had some leverage on the Big Ten. Leverage to where they could get a full investment deal with the Big Ten network. They were fully invested and they didn't have to spend a dime of their money. That's how valuable USC is. You don't have to explain to me how valuable USC is. However, when you are in an 18-team conference and you are discussing the stakes number and how much infusion in cash and back and forth, there was lots of disagreements. There's still disagreements. But at some point as a conference, you come to a consensus and you don't always get what you want. You don't. Ohio State did not get what it wanted in the last Big Ten expansion. Ohio State did not get what it wanted in the last Big Ten expansion. Think about that. Just think about that for a moment. Sit back and think about it. Ohio State was outvoted. They acquiesced and they said, okay, Washington and Oregon are joining the conference. So USC ain't going to get what they're not always going to get what they want. They're not. And in this case, they're not going to quite get what they want. But they're going to get there if they're a true tier one. They're going to get to the top tier anyways. Relationships. And so when you're looking at the next Big Ten, the candidates for the Big Ten expansion, which we have. By the way, Virginia is moving up that list because of what's going on in Virginia. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Again, when you talk about relationships, whoever comes in the Big Ten presidents and the commissioner in the media part, I mean, everybody's got to be convinced that they are in it for the long run. This is not a cash and dash. They're not coming in just to get a few dollars and leave. Okay. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. As we have reported, Opie sent me an article. There's a few different articles out there. The University of Virginia, as we said, what was going to be happening on the ground, what's happening on the ground is completely different than what's been going on in the last 36 months at the University of Virginia. The window, technically, it's still open for the Southeastern Conference, but it just isn't going to happen. Even the Southeastern Conference doesn't always get what it wants. The Big Ten definitely doesn't. The Southeastern Conference wanted Virginia, and that window is going to shut before the Southeastern Conference can act. And they can't act right now when they're trying to get the SCORE Act through and other things solved in the college football playoffs. Virginia is politically out of reach. And the president has basically told everybody that without saying the actual words. Like, we don't like what the Board of Visitors, what they're looking at for president. We're not going to give them the ability to. She's not saying this, but I'm just telling you, it's over. It's over. Virginia is not going to become a Southeastern Conference school. And what effect does that have on North Carolina? We're going to have to get to it later this week or next week. But again, that's why nothing is settled. Nothing is done. Not even close. Nothing is imminent. There's positioning. Remember, a couple of months ago, based upon a Virginia Tech money perch, we were able to talk to a Virginia official, University of Virginia official. And we reported to you all that Virginia official said, we think the Southeastern Conference has run out of time and we're probably going to end up in the Big Ten. That was a couple of months ago. So, and the whole Virginia Tech thing, James Franklin, who knows? We'll talk about it later. There's too much to talk about today. Too much to talk about. We're taking a step back because of what's happened on the ground, because of the political situation. We're not taking a step back on Southeastern Conference targeting Virginia or the Big Ten targeting Virginia. We're not taking a step back on that. But the ability for the Southeastern Conference to get Virginia, as we have been warning people as the election has been approaching, things have changed. Things have definitely changed. Okay. Christopher Hooter. Christopher Hooter. Greg, if you think Greg Sankey ain't lying in the weeds here with USC, Michigan, SEC. Whoops. Michigan is not joining the Southeastern Conference. Michigan is not joining the Southeastern Conference. The Wolverine Network and the Spartan Network sound as dumb as the Longhorn Network. That's not going to work. Yeah. Yeah, just on their, yeah. I mean, good luck. Again, they have every right, look, USC, as we reported in 2022, USC went, as Mike Bone, the former athletic director at USC, explained to everybody, USC went through the process of what it would look like for their school if they went the independent route. They went through that. And Mike Bone told everybody, it ain't going to happen. It doesn't work. Now, if they want to go through that process again, if Michigan wants to go through that process again, they have every right to. They have every right to go through that process. We in the SEC don't like cheaters anyways. Ryan Brooks. Chris G, I don't think you understand what I'm saying, or you're either trolling. Either way, good luck to you, sir. Texas and Oklahoma would never go to the Southeastern Conference either. Well, I never said that. And again, Michigan's not going to the Southeastern Conference. Michigan would never have voted for... Do you want me to rattle off the schools in the Southeastern Conference that Michigan would not have voted yes to join the Big Ten? It would be a long list. So no, Michigan's not joining the Southeastern Conference. But, if the Southeastern Conference wants to pursue that, go ahead. And if it... Go ahead. Do what you got to do. Okay. Let me see. Make sure here if I didn't miss anything. We are going to get to your phone calls. Let me, you know what? Have your guys' DMs completely changed or... Okay. Okay. Now let's get to our... would the Big Ten hockey get booted from the Big Ten Conference? Most definitely, yes. Yes, they would. Yeah. Okay, we'll get to your phone calls. What is going on with this? Hopefully the phone lines work. 763-260-1333. I am seeing things I've never seen before. 763-260-1333. Give us a call. Talk about anything in college football that your heart desires. With the mess at Virginia, does this put Virginia Tech in play? I don't know, Daniel Gygax. I do not know. I don't know. I've had nobody tell me. No one has ever said that the Southeastern Conference has Virginia Tech as one of their candidates. No one has ever told me that. If they would have, I would have talked about it. Virginia was definitely one of the top 2 targets because the Southeastern Conference president wanted it. And it's not just me saying it. It was Pete Thamel, Brett McMurphy, everybody. Because the Southeastern Conference leaked like a sieve when it came to that. Everybody knew it. Now, I know there are people out there like Chris G who can't stand to hear that, but it was the truth. But I don't think the Southeastern Conference can do it anymore. I think the window, while it's officially still open,
from
Tristan Fives.
Tristan 5, thank you for calling, sir. The floor is yours.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Greg.
You got it, buddy.
Hey, I wanted to get your reaction. I'm sorry I missed the beginning of the show. I wanted to get your reaction on the Oklahoma win and the Georgia win. What are your thoughts there?
Well, Oklahoma won. How do I say this? Oklahoma was very fortunate. Georgia was not fortunate. Georgia dominated. Georgia is coming on strong. Georgia is a threat. Georgia's a threat to win it all. Texas Tech is a threat to win it all. Of course, Ohio State, Indiana are threats to win it all. That's what I think. I think Oklahoma was very, very, very fortunate, but now they got a real good shot at making the playoffs.
Yeah, I think so. I'm wondering if how it's going to shake out with Notre Dame because they're a 2-loss team along with Oklahoma and Notre Dame and Alabama are now 2-loss teams.
Mm-hmm.
And will recency bias rule the day? Notre Dame is on a winning streak, so they may be ahead of them just based on that. But we'll be curious to see how that goes. I wanted to call in, though, and say that Georgia is playing their best football, Greg.
Yep.
But I'm going to stick to my guns. They can't beat Ohio State. Or I'll say that they won't beat Ohio State if they make it that far. I think Ohio State is still the number 1 team easily.
I think Ohio State is the big favorite going into the playoffs to win it all. Now, of course, they need Julian Sane to stay healthy and all that, but I do think Kleinholtz is a pretty good backup quarterback. But I think what has made Ohio State a growing favorite, even larger now than it was 4 weeks ago, is the development, the reps, the snaps of Bo Jackson, the running back. Now that he is an absolute threat, Ohio State's offense is it's a nightmare, and that defense is a nightmare for the opposing team. So I think there's a gap between the Buckeyes and the Hoosiers, Georgia, Alabama, and Texas Tech, and who else, whatever you want to throw in there. I think the Buckeyes are going to be extremely difficult to beat.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you something else, too. Even though they won, you got to think twice about Texas A&M. Now, look, they're going to get in the playoff. But I got to be honest with you, Greg, after falling down 27-3 to South Carolina, are they really a team who's as good as their record?
Okay, so I know a lot of people are pointing out that Texas A&M victories are all the teams that are at the bottom half of the Southeastern Conference. People did the same thing with Indiana last year. Same type of argument. I think it's extremely difficult to win 9 or 10, whatever, how many games they've won in a row. I think that 10-0, I guess, it's extremely difficult to get that done. Not many teams can get it done. Plus, they beat a Notre Dame team that I think is very, very good football team. So
yeah, that's probably their best win.
I said this when we made our picks. Texas A&M is a very, very good football team with a quarterback that gets really hot. But I said that I think you can see it in the data, but I think Texas A&M, when it gets into the playoffs, if they go up against a good running football team, they are in trouble. And I said South Carolina is not that good running. South Carolina cannot run the football, so therefore Texas A&M should not have a problem. Well, South Carolina, they had a couple of running backs that they haven't given the ball to lately. South Carolina ran the ball as a bad running team, as a bad offensive line. South Carolina ran the ball really good against Texas A&M. So I think Texas A&M's defense against the rush is going to be their Achilles heel, and I think it's going to get them in the playoffs. But I think they're a pretty good team.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Well, hey, listen, James Franklin, I think that's a home run hire. Now, the one thing about him, Greg, he has got to modernize his concept of an offense. If he could just hire a coordinator who really would install an innovative, something other than, a cloud of dust and 3 yards, if they get with a modern offense and his recruiting, and look, he's a good coach in every other way. That was his weakness at Penn State, in my opinion.
I think James Franklin is a good coach, good recruiter, and I think it's an excellent hire for Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
But James Franklin hired all kinds of different offensive coordinators at Penn State. He went through them pretty aggressively, and none of them could work under Franklin. I think that, talking about Achilles heels, I think the offensive coordinator James Franklin relationship is an Achilles heel for Franklin. Before he got Andy Koltenicky, he went through a couple different coordinators, and then he brought in Kirk Shiraka, who did miracles at Minnesota. He brought an RPO offense in there. Franklin knew exactly what he was getting, and he didn't even last the year with Kirk Shiraka. He demoted him, and Kirk Shiraka left after 1 year. He brought in Andy Koltenicky, who is a modern-day offensive coordinator, who has all different type of packages, pre-snap movements, spreads the ball around, did a great job at Kansas under Leipold. He goes to Penn State, and it still didn't work. So I think there's some blame that has to go directly to James Franklin when it's about the offense. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, and so here's the closing thought. I don't want to be on too long. You probably already said this, but the chatter now, this was my perception, and it was confirmed this morning when I saw some social media. Sark is on the hot seat now at Texas. I don't know if you talked about that or not, but this team is woefully underperforming, and I'm telling you right now, Greg, they could lose to Texas A&M, but there's a legitimate chance that they lose to Arkansas. Arkansas has not been a pushover team. Their record's terrible, but they play everyone tough.
Yep. Yes, they have. Yep.
And I'm telling you right now, if he loses his last 2 games, they're going to get rid of him. And if they keep him, he's still on the hot seat going into next season. So, You know what? We saw that. Look, the peak of Texas under Sark was when they had the ball inside the 10-yard line with a chance to tie it against Ohio State in the fourth quarter. And it's been all downhill since then. And I think the fans sense it, and I think the administration senses it, that he has taken them as far as he can take them.
All righty, sir.
All right, Greg, you keep up the good work, and I'll talk to you later.
You got it, buddy. Appreciate it. Thanks. You, Tristan.
Thanks.
Great
Bye-bye.
call. The thought of Sarkisian.
Call from
Greg.
Greg, can you hold on for a moment, please?
I sure can.
I appreciate it. The thought that Sarkisian, who made it to the Final Four, and Franklin, who made it to the Final Four and got fired. I mean, the expectations we're putting on these coaches, I think it's kind of insane, right? I don't think Sarkisian should be on the hot seat. I don't think he is on the hot seat, but I get it. I mean, Texas thinks they should win it all. These top 20 top 16, 20 programs, they all think they should win it all. And of course, only one program can win it all. And man, these coaches, they are under fire. Greg, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling.
Hey, Greg, glad to hear you're feeling better.
Yeah, I am.
First of all, I'll tell you a little quick one I saw on a podcast this morning. One of the USC podcasts, I think it's called Trojan Blade. They corrected the information that it wasn't really Tony Petitti who was the bad guy in this. He wasn't responsible for it. It was Ohio State that developed this investment plan so they could make more money, and they're the reason why there's a problem right now. So, I mean, it's always interesting to hear the different versions of what people think is happening.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State is going to make more money. And so would USC, by the way. USC would make more money. But because USC isn't going to make as much money as Ohio State, I guess they don't like the deal. Well, USC wasn't making anywhere close to the conference payouts that the Buckeyes been making for the last 30 years. That's why they joined the Big Ten. So, I don't know. It's, look, I don't know, guys. I'm all I can tell you is this. Right or wrong, there are people who have looked at this deal from the Ohio State perspective and all these schools in the Big Ten, outside money people, and they have looked at this deal and they said that is a no-brainer, that they have to make this deal. Of course they should make this deal. I still see comments in the comments section here at Peek Around the Corner where people are saying this deal is not worth it. You should not sell your soul to private equity. You should not sell your soul to private equity. I saw it earlier in this chat room. And here's the thing, guys. This deal may not work. But if it doesn't work for, let me put it this way. If this deal works for UC Investment, if they make their money back and a whole lot more and made it worth their time and effort to do this deal, then the deal worked for the Big Ten schools. This is not a zero-sum deal. If it works for UC Investment, it works for the Big Ten schools. If it doesn't work for UC Investment, it doesn't work for the Big Ten schools. So this is not a deal in which UC Investment made out a whole bunch of money and they got out of town and the Big Ten schools didn't make money. That's not the type of deal this is. So I just wanted to make that clear once again. Go ahead, Greg.
Nor is it the kind of plan where a lot of people envision with private equity that they're going to try and influence what has to be done day to day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so it's, I agree with you, Greg, in terms of every school has a responsibility and a right to be looking out for their own self-interest. But also the other side of the coin is when you're a member of an 18-member conference, you care about the other 18 members to the extent you can to be supportive of their needs and their interests whenever you can.
Yeah.
And my feeling is that, especially since they're not wanting to think beyond 2036, my feeling is that this feels like Michigan doesn't really care one way or the other. Like you said, the person who said, well, there's a lot of other better ways to do it. If they really cared about the other schools, they say, and 2 months from now, I'm going to come back and present to you what those are.
Good point.
And it's crickets. There's nothing.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, if I stop you from doing this, I'm happy, I'm walking away, I'm done.
Yeah.
And so I just think that's part of the reason why they don't have influence anymore that you reported, because it's kind of like the other schools are feeling, where are you in all this?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I guess to me, and I have a bias, but it just feels like a faction at the University of Michigan is just so confident in their own, I don't know what the word is, superiority as a school and all the different aspects of a school, that they just don't seem to feel like they fit within the other schools in the conference right now. And I don't know if that's just a few people from Michigan or if that's, pretty much where they are. It concerns me, though, as a member of a conference, you've got to be supportive of one another to the extent you can.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Great call, Greg.
Now, let me ask you one other thing.
You got it.
In past, when they've been talking about a super league, not the kind where the SEC and the Big Ten are just doing the things like a super league, but in the notion of having an actual super league with, 8 different divisions.
Yeah.
Is there any thought there wouldn't be some private equity in there?
Yeah, no, it would be private equity, and they would be bringing in billions of dollars. I think the number was like $9 billion, and they would have a big stake in it, and it's like, and there'd be different tier payments, and people who believed in this idea thought that 70 schools would be able to come together and kumbaya and Ohio State and Michigan would be for that type of deal. Well, obviously, Michigan definitely would not be for that type of deal, and you can never get it to work. It was just...
And Greg, some people who are hearing you today saying Michigan would never join the SEC, you never say never about anything, but the point is, Michigan, to me, feels like they would only be comfortable in a league of one, and I think independent is the way they would try to go.
Yeah, I think you're right, and they might try to do that. Yep.
Hey, the only thing is, I think Notre Dame is oversold on how easy that is. I don't think it automatically happens.
Yeah, and it's been very difficult for Notre Dame, so it's not going to be easy.
Okay, well,
good luck.
Again, Greg, thank you. Glad you're feeling better. Take care.
You got it. Appreciate it, sir. Great call. Mr. Gopher, Dave Valinsky, super chat. I really hope that we get into the Music City Bowl. I would really like to see what we can do against an SC school. Sky U Ma. Dave, the only bowl at this point, the only bowl that I do not want to play for the Gophers is the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, because that game is played at the that Arizona baseball field, and it's terrible for the players. So hopefully we avoid that football game. Other than that, you know what, man? I don't want to sound down on my Gophers, but this has not been good. It has not been a good year. The 6-4 record could easily be 3-7. It definitely could not be better than 6-4. This is not a year in which you can say, well, the Gophers could be, 4-6, but they also could be 8-2. No. 6-4 is a mirage. So I don't know, Dave. I don't know Just don't play in the guaranteed rate game.
From
Studzilla.
I'm sorry, did not get the name.
Studzilla.
Studzilla, thanks for calling, sir. The floor is yours. Thank you, Dave Valinsky, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Go ahead, sir.
So I know there's been some discussion back and forth about, one of the options Michigan has is independence. And as the caller before mentioned, that Notre Dame probably makes that look easier than it is, because they have decades set up of doing that. I just don't think it's realistic. I don't think it's realistic for 99% of college football teams to go independent and be in as good or better situation than they are. Notre Dame had to make an agreement with the ACC to get some guaranteed games in their schedule, to get an offer from Notre Dame or from NBC. There's been rumors I've heard that NBC wants Notre Dame to take on more Big Ten teams or more teams that bring in like better ratings in the ACC to justify this, contract that they were seeking last year or extension or whatever it was. It's cool to say you're going to go independent, but you have to find a media partner for your sports that's willing to pay you what you would make in the Big Ten to make it even be worst case scenario okay. But then you ideally would obviously want to make more. So I don't think it's even like, unless you want to eat crow and be like, oh man, we did something stupid, but we did what we wanted, so pat ourselves in the back. I don't see why. I don't know. It just seems very unrealistic that anybody would go independent in this era. Could they get a media partner? Oh, absolutely. Could they get a media partner willing to give them what they want? I don't think so. Your thoughts?
Well, so could they get a media partner that would give them what they want financially? Tier 1 money, there's 7 home games, maybe. But it would have to be it's so difficult because again, I'm going to get to the meat of it here. Fox and ESPN and media partners like that, they do not want to deal with a standalone school. First of all, it's more riskier for them. But the second part of it is they don't want to sabotage their conference-wide deals, right? They love having this security, this bundled content together. They feel that they pay a little bit too much money for it, but they know they're going to get top games every single year, almost every single week, because of the conference standings, and some teams go up, some teams go down. But they don't want to, like, ESPN doesn't want to shell out $80 million for Michigan yearly basis, because then other top football brands under the ESPN umbrella in these conferences are going to be like, what the hell? What did you just do? You just undercutted me, Alabama, Georgia. So Michigan could get a deal with Netflix or something like that in a few years, whenever this happens. But, they're not going to have the conference network, which gives them a lot of money, a lot of exposure. Texas did not go from the Big 12 to independence because the Longhorn Network provided so bad of exposure for the third tier, their sports other than football and basketball. So in Michigan, it's a big, powerful brand, valuable brand, no question about it. The Big Ten has loved having them in the conference. They are the quintessential Big Ten university. Going independence is going to be tough. Could they do it? Yes, they could do it. Could they join the best of the rest conference with ACC and Big 12 schools? Yes, but again, Michigan's going to be very highly selective on who their conference mates are going to be. So yeah, it's going to be difficult, sir.
Yeah. No, I was thinking like, Purdue would never make as much Notre Dame independent, right? But Purdue is in the Big Ten and makes more money off of their media deal than Notre Dame. Notre Dame would make more money in the Big Ten. Notre Dame would make more money in the SEC, et cetera, et cetera. But like, yeah, I don't know. That was it really. It just seems, yeah, like you said, could they get a TV or could they get a media partner? Sure, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem like great odds.
No, it doesn't. I agree.
All right, well, thank you. Have a good one.
You got it, buddy. And we got a super chat from Helmer Henderson.
All from
Chris Kenny.
Chris Kenny, can you just hold on for one moment, please?
Yes.
I appreciate it. We got a super chat. Helmer Henderson. Greg, I thought you said previously that if Michigan didn't sign on, they would be pushed out of the Big Ten after the current media contract concludes. Is that still not the case? I did not say that, Helmer Henderson. That definitely is not the case. The grant of rights go to 2036. Then this current deal goes to 2030. Michigan is going to be part of the media negotiations for inside the Big Ten, going for the next deal after this one ends. No, I don't. If I said that, I was drunk, and I have not been drunk, so I did not say that. But thank you for the $10 holler, Hammer Henderson. I can't imagine what I said that would have. Michigan's not going to get pushed out. They might just not. They might leave. They might take the Big Ten to court. They might leave after 2036. But yeah, they're not going to get pushed out. Thank you, Helmer Henderson. Appreciate the super chat. Thank you very much. Kenny, thanks for calling, sir. The floor is yours.
Hey, so huge game coming up Saturday.
Yeah.
At Wrigley Field.
Yeah, Northwestern is 3.5 point favorite.
I mean, I was very confident, like up until going into Saturday, that I thought that was the game we were going to win. I don't know, honestly, Greg. That was the most stressful football game I've ever watched in my life. The 2010 Outback Bowl where we lost to Auburn. And I think it was 14. We won at Notre Dame in like an insane 43-40 game. Those are the two most stressful games I've watched going in to Saturday. But this was the hardest game I've ever watched. I was still feeling it on Sunday morning, and I just can't. I didn't play. I'm just some schlub sitting on my chair. Like I can't imagine these kids who laid it all on the field in this high stress, high stakes environment, national broadcast, to then shake it off and win a must-win game to get bowl eligible. Because then the last game of the year is at Illinois, and I do not think. I mean, they could. Illinois is up and down, but I don't think they're going to beat Illinois on the road.
What is Northwestern's record?
Saturday. They're 5-5, so they got 2 games.
They're going to be bowl. They're going to be bowl eligible. Don't worry about it. Look,
I don't know. I don't know.
Kenny, the Gophers on the road in the Big Ten probably have the worst metrics ever for a team over the last 100 years. I mean, the Gophers go down 14-0 before any of us can even drink our first beer. I mean, it is. I would be very confident if I was a Northwestern Wildcat going in this football game. Very, very confident.
All right, well, this is the last thing I want to hear from the cooler. I mean, this is the worst. If you were telling me you were really feeling good,
It,
Um,
there's
No, I
one
hear you.
advantage. One advantage that Minnesota has over Northwestern. It ain't the defensive line. Anthony Smith is great, but the rest of it, nah. It ain't the offensive line. It ain't the special teams. It ain't the receivers. It ain't the running backs because our guys are injured. The only advantage that Minnesota has in that football game is the quarterback position. I like our quarterback better than I like yours. No disrespect, Kenny.
Yeah,
I like our quarterback better.
I agree with you.
But that ain't
I mean,
gonna make that ain't gonna make the difference. That ain't gonna,
Yeah. I mean, look, like, I don't like crushing, even though they get paid now and people are like, oh, they're pros. I don't like crushing college athletes individually because they're still college students.
Yep.
But so I don't take this in the spirit it's given. But like Preston Stone has just been a big disappointment. I'll leave it at that. He's not accurate. He turns the ball over in very inopportune times. There were a lot of passes that he just underthrew against Michigan that we had like screens or, kind of crossing routes, for 6 yards to keep nothing big. But just like the kind of throws you need to make to keep a drive going and not kill momentum. I mean, Michigan turned the ball over 5 times and we just didn't score off of those turnovers consistently. And that's really the ball game. So if we had a better, I feel like that's every bad team. If we had a better quarterback, we'd be a better team. I mean, I really think Northwestern could have been an 8-win team this year with a better quarterback, but because the running game has been amazing. And, Northwestern plays hard. I mean, they hit hard. They've always had big guys on the offensive line. They don't always have, the speed and the skill positions, but they played, historic, traditional Big Ten football for the most part. And I think this could have been an 8-win team if we had just had a slightly better, historic, like a Mike Kafka type quarterback, Dan Persa type quarterback, like when I was in, college and shortly thereafter. Like those guys fit the Northwestern mold, and I just think they thought Preston Stone would be that guy, and he's not. But my last, I don't want to talk about Michigan. I don't want to talk about the UC thing. I'm so sick of it. I don't care anymore. The last comment I want to sort of another football question, which I'm curious for your thoughts on. We'll see tomorrow night kind of where the committee puts them, but when you look at the teams that are ahead of Miami, I know that they did themselves no favors and they lost 2 games they should not have lost. Certainly the SMU game was like inexcusable. I think that they are underranked and underrated. I think that they're better than Utah. I think that they are better than Vanderbilt. I think they are better than Texas. They're certainly better than Georgia Tech, which the committee has them ranked above them, although the AP doesn't. I mean, I think they're right below like BYU and Alabama. I know they beat Florida State and Alabama did not, but I don't know. What do you think? I feel like Miami, if they had lost a non-conference game, if they'd lost to South Florida instead of SMU, this would be a totally different discussion because they'd be in much better position to play in the ACC title game. I still think they're the best team in that league. I think that they, all things being equal, should be an at-large team, but they just keep getting weighted down by losing this stupid game to SMU when, they beat Notre Dame. They beat the Florida team that Texas lost to. Like I know South Florida's fallen on their face against Navy, but they beat them. They to me are a much more talented team than quite a few of the teams ahead of them. And I don't know what you think if they stand a chance to rock it up this week after kind of this tumultuous series of results.
I'm going to do whatever I can to carry that show live, the selection show. I think we're going to have a watch party on it. My scheduling, it gets kind of tough later on a Tuesday, but I'm going to do everything I can. I do think Miami has a very good case to be made. And I think they can only help themselves winning out, of course, finishing 10-2. Unlike most people, I don't have a problem having Notre Dame ahead of Miami. I don't. I know Miami won that head-to-head contest, and that does mean a lot. And if I was just comparing Notre Dame and Miami, and if they were in the standings, of course I would have Miami ahead. But there are other factors involved. I think Notre Dame, and I said this all last year after they lost to Northern Illinois. I think Notre Dame is one hell of a football team. And I think Miami is one hell of a football team most of the time. But they do have issues. And Notre Dame does too. I think like Notre Dame, Miami finishing behind Texas, that should not happen. They better have Miami ahead of Texas.
I think they should totally be ahead of Texas.
Yep.
With, that they've got the common opponent in Florida. Texas was lifeless against Georgia, and I know they went on the road and played a tough game against Ohio State. They still lost. Other than the Oklahoma game, I don't really think any of their wins are terribly impressive.
Yeah.
I think they're better than Dandy. I think they're better. Again, Utah, what's Utah's best win? Like a close loss to BYU?
I think I would have Miami ahead of Vanderbilt and Utah. But Utah is very close. Vandy's very close. We're the same. To me, this is not. It's not. I think we're splitting hairs, and we have to. But yeah, I would have Miami ahead of Texas. The Utah thing. Utah has been so dominant, and I know they're not beating teams that have high rankings, whatever. But again, when you're so dominant like Utah, and they've looked great, I think Utah's in the hunt. BYU, of course, should be ahead of Miami still.
I agree. No, I agree with that.
The Vanderbilt, Utah, Miami thing is going to be very interesting to look at tomorrow night. But I don't think Texas should be up there anymore with those teams.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night, Greg, and we'll talk after Saturday.
You got it, buddy. Thank you, sir.
See ya. Bye.
Call from
Evil Badger.
The Evil Badger, Ryan Willie, is on the line. The floor is yours, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing okay, Greg. Thanks for taking my call.
You got it, buddy.
A couple of things that I want to talk to you about. The thing with Michigan, like I said before, I don't think even though it's likely that they would probably go independent, I don't think that would work as well as they think. And the one other thing, there's a couple other things, but one thing related to all of the Michigan stuff is that if this grant the rights gets extended to 2046, and so Fox has the contract to 2030. And do you think they would go past the next contract would go past 2036? And plus all the big, especially the Big 12 podcasters like John Kurtz are just ripping the Big Ten over this Michigan fiasco.
I didn't understand your question. Like, are you asking? So there's going to be a media contract. I'm sorry, Ryan Willie.
Okay. Let me start over.
Okay.
So, do you think the next media contract will go past the grant the rights expiration in 2036?
No. Okay. So the next media contract, and I'll answer Helmer Hennison's. Thank you, Helmer Hennison, for the $2 super chat. You meant 2036. Would Michigan get pushed out? I'll answer both here. So the next media contract is going to be probably, most likely, the next Big Ten media contract is going to go from 230 to 236. Okay, and that's going to take us to the end of the grant of rights. So to answer your Hammer Henderson, at 2036, there is no pushing out anybody because nobody is under the grant of rights anymore. Like during that media rights agreement, the negotiations, if there is no grant of rights beyond 2036, there is no like pushing anybody out. Michigan can leave, anybody can leave, no penalty. Now conferences in regards to the Big Ten would like to have the grant of right. What the Big Ten has done, and it has been the wise move, a couple of things. One is they have shorter media contracts than the other conferences, so they re-up faster. The other thing is their grant of rights is separate from their media rights, which means that the Big Ten likes to put out their grant of rights further than their media rights because it gives them more leverage in the media negotiations. Because they tell the media partners, we're together. You deal with all of us. None of us are leaving. And the big and 16 Big Ten schools want to kick it out to 2046 and have this Big Ten enterprises because they believe it's going to give them leverage over business deals, their next couple of media contracts, sponsorship. I mean, and Michigan and USC are not a believer, or at least a few people at Michigan are not a believer. So that answers your question, Hammer Henderson. Ryan Willie, no, there is going to be one more media negotiations, and that next contract is probably going to take us up to the 2036 grant of rights.
Okay.
Got it?
Okay, so do you think in 2036, if Michigan goes independent, I honestly don't think they're going to be able to get as good a deal as Notre Dame got from NBC. And do you think Fox would step away from the Big Ten network in 2036?
The question, do I think Michigan's going to get as good a deal as Notre Dame?
Yeah.
I think I think they could. I think it's going to be it's a risky move. It's a risky endeavor. Just like UC investment might be a risky endeavor, going independent is going to be it's going to be difficult.
And do you think Fox will step away from the Big Ten network after the 2036?
I do not know. Fox has a deal with the Big Ten until 2036. I don't know, sir. I really don't know. I've heard some steam on Fox's relationship with the Big Ten changing somewhat in the next few years. I don't know what that entails. So it could. I find it hard to believe that Fox would entirely be out of the Big Ten world. I bet against that.
Okay. And one more quick thing. So if Northwestern is likely to beat the Gophers, you can almost guarantee that Wisconsin's going to take back the axe.
No, my friend, the axe is staying home here in Minnesota. The axe is staying home.
We'll see. Thanks for taking my call.
You got it, buddy.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right, bye.
Beautiful call. MH Ortho 12, thanks for coming on in. Petiti using media outlets to threaten USC and Michigan is terrible leadership. Petiti hasn't used media outlets. He hasn't used media outlets at all. He hasn't been threatening USC and Michigan at all. That was a message sent from the Big Ten to USC and Michigan. Petitti's not using the media for that. You don't think USC and Michigan leaked that? Of course they leaked it. Of course they leaked it. Petitti's not using the media at all, for good and for bad. For good and for bad. Preston from Greensboro. Who would an independent Michigan play? The Big Ten wouldn't play them. Are they going to play Mississippi State? They may be mad, but they ain't a-leaving. Whoops. I got the wrong. Sorry. Super chat. Thank you for the $5 holler. Preston from Greensboro. It's going to be tough. Independence is tough, guys. I know a lot of people think, that one reporter believes that Michigan and Ohio State game could fetch them $150 to $200 million for that one game. Good luck, Dave Wetzel. Good luck. Good luck. Let's see here. Yeah, I took the phone off the hook. We are closing up. We've been on the air for over 2 hours already. I just want to get to a few comments here, and then we are closing it up. Humble Bumble Duck. Hi, Greg. I was going to call you a live show for the Minnesota at Oregon game, but we had to head into the game, spent the afternoon with great Minnesota fans. Humble Bumble Duck, thank you very much. I have pictures of friends of mine that went to the football game. They sent me pictures, and they all said they were treated exceptionally well by the Oregon Duck fans. High-class fans in a high-class stadium. They loved the environment. They absolutely loved it. So congratulations on the victory. And it's going to be Oregon and USC. Buckle up. Brace for impact. Buckle up. Brace for impact. All right, guys. I think that's it. We've been on the air for 2 hours and 7 minutes. Preston from Greensboro. Thank you. Hummer Hennison. Dave Valinsky. Donnie McNerney. Christopher Hooter. Buck Wargo. Caleb Ramirez, Bill G, Stephen McNeely, CAC, Kenneth Maynor, Caleb Ramirez. Once again, I appreciate your support, your super chats, and your membership. Tomorrow we're going to be busy. We've got a lot to talk about tomorrow, and that includes Virginia, next week games, and we're going to be talking about the new college football rankings. We're going to try to come on live when the selection show begins tomorrow night. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tomorrow's going to be a great day here at PATC. If you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you've liked our content. Share the video with your family and friends. Until next time, from all of us at PATC to all of you, please you all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family, Golden Gopher.